Yes guys, how is it going? So in today's video, by the way, I'm in the office. Couple of things that I need to tell you first. Sound's gonna be terrible. I'm gonna be looking at the screen, gonna be looking at my phone. And this little thing over here is my friend's Shopify counter. And that's gonna keep ticking away in the background. So ignore that. Apparently he's made $10,000 today, not bad. Anyway, in today's video, I'm gonna show you how me and one of my one-on-one private clients are planning to take her online fitness business to $50,000 a month. So she's been a client of mine over the last 6 months, and she's now up to $38,000 per month. Just yesterday, she's jumped up to one-to-one to work with me, and we have locked in the goal of getting her to 50K months over the next 6 months, working together one-to-one. Yesterday, we looked at everything that we needed to look at and pretty much mapped out the next couple of steps that I believe is gonna get her to 50K. So I'm gonna share the exact plan with you. No matter what niche you're in, this is gonna be really, really useful. What I hope that you take away from this video is going to be the thinking behind this, right? Because it's not just throwing random stuff. And like a lot of people think, it's not just, throwing random stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's really taking a proper intellectual approach to where we currently are, where the bottlenecks are, and what needs to change, creating a hypothesis and thinking about what are the inputs that we're gonna need to do to make this happen, right? So what I hope for you to get out of this is the thinking behind it, and then understanding why we're doing the things that we're doing. It's kind of 4 simple steps, why we're building out these things, and hopefully you may get some inspiration for your own business, even if you're not yet even at 38K months, which is really, really good months. So let's get into it. Let me change my screen. Let's hope I do the right one. 1 second, bang. Nope. Guys, 1 sec. Okay, how do we do this? I did it. We're in. All right, let's get into it. The 4-step plan to grow this fitness coach's business to 50K months over the next 6 months. Lock in, pay attention to the thinking, pay attention to the reasoning behind things, pay attention to how we come up with the plan. There's gonna be something in here for you. So, just to prove this person exists. So this person, I'm keeping her anonymous because I'm going into her whole plan. It felt a bit weird to actually say, show who she was and everything else. So I'm gonna keep them anonymous. She's also asleep because she's not in the UK, so I couldn't ask her if I could put her in. Instead, I'm just gonna prove they exist with quick message over here. This was one of the 38K months. She's over in New Zealand, so this is a 61K month in New Zealand dollars. Everything that we talk about here is gonna be in US dollars, just to keep everything simple, the prices, the goals, everything. But here, this was a message like last month where she'd made 12K on holiday before 8 a.m. And I put this up over on Instagram as well. And Mitch, shout out to Mitch, posted this in the comments. Just in case anyone's wondering, this is legit, meaning kind of this whole thing we're talking about is just on Instagram. I'm on the same program and we do group calls. These two aren't messing around. So let's get into it. So current situation, right? So when we start working together one-on-one, well, you need to know where someone's starting. So the current situation is this. Over the last 2 months, she'd made 38K per month, US dollars, remember. One thing that she's done really, really, really well since joining the program is created her market leader messaging. She is really, really clear with what she stands for, her unique mechanisms, and one thing that is killing it for her at the moment is her big idea. She has one big idea that everything else is built around, and when her audience are sold on that big idea, and by the way, everything comes back to the big idea, her content, everything. When her audience becomes sold on that big idea, they want to work with her and no one else. Her indoctrination VSL video sales letter is around that big idea. So people watch it, they're sold on the idea, they message her. We know they're being sold on the idea because, as I asked and she told me, when they come in, You can tell from what they write on the intake form, what they write when they drop her an inbound message, everything else. I'm gonna, just like I kept her anonymous, I'm gonna keep the big idea anonymous as well, because it's working so well. I don't want people to steal it. All of this is selling in the DMs as well, by the way. So she's actually often closing 5K in dollars, US dollars, paid in fulls in the DMs. And this is going to be down to her messaging, right? Especially if you're in fitness, because it's so saturated, but if you're any kind of coach and you are just a coach and you're not unique in any way, all of those different kinds of things, your unique mechanisms, your aspirational identity that you're telling people that they can become, your big idea that it's all built around. If none of these are clear, you're not going to really be able to do that. You're going to have to be selling by call, because you have to kind of force people in as opposed to magnetize them in with your unique ideas. She's actually only working 4 hours per day as well, and she's often going on holidays, and it's just her and a VA, so profits are really, really high. Currently, the multi-tier stack is her one-to-one tier costs $1,423 per month. She sells that weekly or upfront, but I'm just putting it into monthly so it's easy for people to understand. And then her group tier is $560 per month, US dollars. So obviously the goal, as we've already said, build all of this to 50K months in the next 6 months, while making sure that she is still working only 4 hours per week, making sure that she is still just her and the VA, so profits are super high at this point at least, and making sure that she continues to sell in the DMs and not having to jump on calls. The really cool thing about working with her, by the way, is she's really clear on what she's prepared to do and what she isn't prepared to do. This is basically how she built this business, right? I'll say something sometimes like, oh, you could do this. Let's say it's like, add a group call in for some more leverage. And she'll say, no, I don't want to. I just don't want to do that. So she's started building this business, way back when, so clear on what she is willing to do and what she's not willing to do. And it's allowed her to build a business like this. That was way before she even worked with me. So that's the first thing to take away from this, right? Everything works, and you can make so many different things work. Understanding the business you want to build for yourself is so important if you want to build it, obviously, when you say it like that, right? So the goal, 50K months. So next we have to build a plan, right? And here's kind of how we think about building a plan. So first of all, we need to assess the actual situation, right? So we find out exactly where they are. And then we always need to know the container, or like, here's where we are and here's where we want to go. And then we identify the bottlenecks and revenue drivers within that gap. So where's all the money coming from right now? Like, where are the sales coming from? What's working really well, like we'd already discussed? And then also, what are the bottlenecks looking like at the moment that we think if we could just solve this one thing, then everything else would grow? And that takes us over to this one, which is we then kind of distill that down into one core issue that we can solve. So if we can assess the situation, we don't want to kind of like try and solve a million different things at the same time. And this is where people get lost. They start to just throw shit at a wall and see what sticks. When really we want to distill everything down to, okay, over this next 6 months, or at least like for the period that we're implementing all this stuff that I'm about to share with you, what is one thing that we can fix, right? And it should improve everything else. Once you do that, there's usually another thing and usually another thing. But right now, what is one thing? Then we form a hypothesis. So once we've been able to distill it down to a problem, we then think, well, okay, cool. We've got this core issue that we believe if we can solve this or we can do this, then everything else will expand, everything else will grow until we hit the next bottleneck, and there's always another one, and then we continue. And we do all of this again. So then we form a hypothesis. Okay, so what do we think we can do to actually overcome this? We kind of form a hypothesis in our minds. We always take the scientist's mindset of, okay, I think this could work, I think this could work, and we come up with a theory. And then we build the strategy. Then we define what are the inputs that we are going to do. Usually that's what are the daily or weekly essential inputs that we're already doing, and what can we do more of that is going to help push this, that we're happy with doing. And then it's also the projects. What projects can we then layer on top and build on top that are going to continue to grow it, right? So we define inputs and an operational plan. And then finally, we execute on the hypothesis by doing the strategy, the inputs, and the projects and everything else. We implement that, we see the changes, and usually 1 or 2 things needs to change. We refine it, and then we kind of continue to go through this until we find the next problem. So that's how we build a plan, right? So when we did that with her, here was the current situation. She had really good lead flow, but especially with the, the volume that she's now at, there was no automated traffic flow, right? So yes, leads were coming in, but we knew that it could be faster, and we knew that it could be automated as well. So she didn't have to do it all of the time, or she didn't have to, we could just know that when she's sleeping, there's new people coming into her world, because that's not always going to be for everyone. But when the world, I just said coming into the world, so I'm going to keep using that word. When the world is very, very validated, meaning it's making 38K per month and it's closing people well, then we start to think, okay, if we could just push more people into this world, we're going to be making more sales, right? So she had good lead flow, but no automated traffic flow. She was making good sales from the people that were coming through, but not as many from her automations, right? So she was able to chat back and forth, or her VA was able to chat back and forth and get people into the program. But there's going to be leakages. There's going to be people that kind of don't get in, and there's nothing automated that was being able to sell them, right? And the final thing was, she was closing a good amount. There it goes. Someone's made a sale on Shopify. Just ignore the noise. She was closing a good amount, but looking at the offer, it could definitely be improved, right? So as I looked through the offer and my experience of seeing the offers that absolutely fly and those that don't and everything else, it was selling a really good amount, but we knew that it could actually do more if we created an offer that was specifically designed to create a client, right? And to make it very easy to do so. Also, just as a side note, because one of the things that I always try and do whenever we build a plan is we want it to be leveraged. We want one action to lead into the next and lead into the next. So when we look back, we've kind of done the whole thing by taking little steps, and each one was its own action and got its own outcome and everything else. So at the same time, little side note, she also wanted to improve the front end of her offer, especially now people are coming through, and especially because her big idea was killing it, but it wasn't as reflected inside the program as well as she would want it to be. She also wanted to improve the front end of her offer and make it smoother and more leveraged, so when people come in, they've got this really clear process that they go through to get them winning quickly. So the hypothesis that we came up with was, if we could automate traffic flow, so we had new people coming into our world every single day, and we could make a higher converting offer. So it's already doing good, but I could see that we could make it better, right? If we could make a higher converting offer, automatically we'd grow fast. What I mean by that automatically, because I just threw myself off there. If we could automate the traffic flow and then make them a higher converting offer automatically, so all of this is done while she sleeps by robots, we'd grow faster, right? So really, we want to do three things. Get good quality traffic rolling in daily. We want to have a high converting, easy yes offer to sell them on, and we want to pull more people out of her audience frequently to be able to make more offers to. Okay, perfect. Keep this first one in mind, because everything's gonna start to build up. You know, like how you watch one of those films, I forgot the director, but one of those films that he did the I See Dead People one, spoiler alert. And then like you get to the end and then there's a big reveal and it's like, oh my God, like there was a twist. There's no twist in here, but there's gonna be a point at the end where you're like, oh, it all flows together so perfectly. That's what we're doing. Ready? So keep this one in mind. So this is our hypothesis. Let's get to it. The plan, 4 simple steps, each one staying within a workflow. So we're not getting her to go and, go do some crazy different thing. Things are working. We're just having to put fuel on the fire and optimize things. And finally, making sure that we implement projects that flow into each other. So the one single project that we do, so one of the 4 steps is useful on its own, but then once we get to step 4 and we look back, they've all kind of flowed together and they've all kind of built up to this machine. And at the end of this video, I'm going to reveal to you the machine. I drew it really badly on my Remarkable, and you'll see that. So number 1, we create an easy yes sprint offer around her big idea, right? So the philosophy that I take all of the time in my business, in my clients' businesses, is this. We want to make it easy to sign a client and then make it easy for them to pay us more. Many people do this the other way around, right? They're like, oh no, I only want clients that are really, really committed and I only want them to pay me loads and loads of money. And they have one program or one offer, it's really high ticket, and they kind of just struggle and force people to come in. I take the complete opposite approach. I want it easy to make a sale. I want it easy for the client to say yes. And then inside the program, like you saw, she has a group and then a one-to-one. Inside the program, I want them to have opportunities to pay us more. Because in this day and age, trust is low. And the best thing that we can do in these markets is take someone off the market quickly. Instead of only having this like 5K program only that people have to pay us, right? And we have to build them up all the way until they're ready to buy a 5K program from us. And we have to hope the algorithm continues to show us to them. We have to hope that they continue to read our stuff. And then we have to hope that no one else signs them up. I would prefer to take them off the market quickly with an easy yes offer. Build trust inside, because you're meant to be a good coach. If you're not a good coach, you shouldn't even be watching this. You should just be improving. Be a good coach, show them how good you are, and then give them opportunities to pay you more. So she already has this big idea that's crushing it, as we've spoken about. So we're going to be taking that and building a sprint offer around it. So sprint offers are sometimes called acquisition offers, right? We've got this core offer, the thing that we sell most of the time. And then what I will do is we'll split an idea out of the offer. We'll split a piece of the offer out, and we kind of sell it as a bit of a sprint, right? So it's 6 weeks, 8 weeks, sometimes 12, but mostly it's lower. Generally because if we have to get our client to commit to a long time, it's harder for them to say yes. It's just a bigger commitment, right? Even if the price is similar. If we have to get them committing to a long time, it's scary for them, especially in something like fitness, where most of the people that are going to be signing up to stuff like this have tried and failed multiple times in the past. They're not going to want to commit to a huge thing. So the sprint offer, 6 weeks, leveraged, same relative price as our normal core offer. So to be clear, we're not pulling our prices down here. The normal group tier, 560 a month or whatever it was, this is the same same relative price, meaning it's the same price relative to the time. It's just shorter, easily more digestible and understandable, and they can see the end. And it's basically like a headache pill. If they have a headache, it's a headache tablet to get the headache away, instead of trying to sell them on like a 6-month course to never have a headache again. They just want to get rid of that pain. So this is going to have a higher conversion rate because it's way easier to say yes to. The promise and process is built around her big idea, the thing that we've already seen crushing it in her content, and people are coming to her for this, right? The promise and process is specifically designed around that validated big idea, which means every single other asset that she has and that we are going to build out, and every single content piece she has, is going to be selling them on the ideas around this offer already. And finally, she will build out the 6-week Launchpad program around her big idea, like she already wanted. Remember, she wanted to get that front end smoother. She's going to be building that out anyway. And then we're going to be using that as the acquisition offer. So that first 6 weeks, along with coaching from her and everything else that you'll get in a fitness program, she's going to build out this thing for her current program anyway. And then we're going to use that as the sprint offer. So that's the first move, right? We take her offer. We're not changing a huge amount of stuff. We're obviously changing the front end part just to make it smoother because she wanted to do that anyway. But we're just kind of articulating it and changing a few of the dimensions on it to make it much, much easier to say yes to. So then we can automate it. So step 2 is automate the now validated sprint offer. So providing that the offer works as well as suspected. We might get to this point and the offer didn't work, right? If that can happen. If that happens, then we can just go back to the old one that was working and my hypothesis was wrong. That's okay, we move on. I doubt that will happen, but that could. But providing that the offer works as well as expected, here's what we do next, right? We then build her an automated email sales system that runs the same campaign to any new opt-ins on her list. So she's gonna run this campaign to her list already, right? So she's gonna be opening the doors to this sprint offer, building up hype first, opening the doors, selling it, running the campaign, closing the doors. If all of that works really well, we're just going to take that, change anything that we need to change, and we're going to take that and we're going to make that her email sales machine. So then anyone that opts in is going to then go through that same campaign, right? So this means that even when the doors are closed publicly, because you're going to see soon like how often we're going to do offers and stuff, as long as she's driving people towards her email list, which she does, she'll be making this validated, easy yes offer while she sleeps, right? Because there comes a point when you've got a great offer and it's closing and it's working really well. There comes a point where the biggest lever to pull is like, how can I make this offer to more qualified people, right? And how can I make it artfully in a way that's already worked? So that's exactly what this is doing. And the reason this is the sprint offer, again, just to make this super clear, is because it's easier to say yes to than a current one. So then even if they're new people into our world, we've made an offer that is super easy for them to say yes to, not just people that have been in her world for like 6 months and they're really bought in on her and everything else. So then we can make these sales to even new opt-ins. Hopefully, we can get this to the point where she's able to sign a new client every 2 days while she sleeps, because they're going through this thing that's already validated, especially once we ramp up the traffic flow. And by the way, for her, this is going to be very, very possible. When she ran a campaign with me before, she sold 12 clients in a week in the DMs on that $560 a month tier. So this is not that undoable, not that impossible, I should say. 3, then we get her into a micro offer rhythm, right? So we know that the single main goal here is to find more people that we can make the sprint offer to. Remember, once we've got to actually implementing this part, everything's validated up until now, right? The sprint offer now works, blah, 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 right? So now we know that the main goal is we need to find more people and extract more people out of our audience to make this sprint offer to. This requires us to make more offers frequently, but also artfully, right? Not just constantly selling the same thing. Huge problem that coaches face, or a mistake they make, is they make the same offer over and over and over and over again. Even if it's the best offer in the world, eventually we're going to have some offer fatigue there, right? Your audience is going to go deaf to it. They're going to have kind of decided already that they're not going to do it, and then they see it another time and they kind of already go back to that decision they made in the past. All of these different things, right? So we can't just make more offers, right? People might say, make more offers, make more money, which is very true, but you can't just do it. You can't just do it with the same offer. You can't just keep doing the same thing every single day. We need to do it artfully. So the main reason we would ever do an offer is to get someone's hands raised that is qualified and be able to have a conversation with them to see where we can sell them. Just recently, another client of mine did a micro offer for something, and micro offer, little low price thing. Someone said, "Hey, I don't want this, but I want, do you do anything bigger?" And he said, "Yeah, I do my coaching." They sold him on that, right? So when we make offers, we are able to make more offers. So what we're going to be doing is getting into the rhythm of one micro offer and one client offer per month. So that can easily look like week 1, nothing, just normal content. Week 2, we make a micro offer. Week 3, we start building hype and a wait list for the core program. And then week 4, we open the core program. One thing that I want all my clients to get to the point of is having a rhythm, a sales rhythm, we call it. Because when you have a sales rhythm, everything else just gets simple. Because we can stick to the rhythm for as long as it works, and we can just get creative within the rhythm. So we can be creative around what's the next micro offer I want to make, or what's the next core offer I want to make, instead of having to constantly start on a blank slate and thinking, what do I do this month, or how do I get clients? So we do this. If you don't know what a micro offer is, by the way, it is usually under $100 or £100, usually under 50. We usually take it out of your core program. So it might be like a workshop you've done or a couple of workshops. It might be assets that you've got and stuff like that. So we kind of use the assets that you've got, or the assets that you're going to do. If you run workshops and trainings to your program, you can actually sell tickets for that coming up, right? So we take the stuff that you've already done, or take stuff that you're going to do anyway, and we put a price tag on it and we sell it to your audience. This is really, really powerful because it allows us to make different offers in different topics, different things that people will raise their hand for, even if they're not necessarily at that moment looking for being coached as a whole. But sometimes consuming the micro offer can be the thing that gets them there. So these are designed to extract more qualified leads. And by the way, the best qualified leads is they've already spent money with you, right? So they're very, very qualified. Qualified leads out of their audience with different offers, then make them client offers, right? So nice and simple, we make this micro offer. We're not trying to get rich off selling like $47 things. But what we're using that for is to extract people out so we can talk to them and then pre-sell them because they actually consume stuff and it's really, really useful and it shows how good you are, and then sell them on the next thing. Sometimes she definitely won't do this because she doesn't like calls at all. But sometimes we'll bundle them with a one-on-one call, and it's crazy how many people you can get. One of my past clients, she did this. She did a micro offer and got 15 people buying it in the week, and she bundled it with a one-on-one coaching call, which is basically a one-on-one sales call, right? So she basically in 1 week got 15 paid sales calls in, and then converted a few of them afterwards, right? The important thing to note as well is when someone's already paid you to solve the problem that you solve, they are so much more valuable to you because you now know that they trust you. You now know that they are willing to spend money to actually solve this problem, and they are way more worth talking to than the ones that haven't spent any money. And also they've just actually watched some of your content, or they've already been like served by you in a way. And as long as you're any good, that works to actually sell them as well. It's kind of like a little test drive. During this rhythm, especially for step 4 that's coming up, during this rhythm, we're going to be making sure that we're testing different topics and types until we find the best ones that hit on sales and upsells. So both sides, right? We need it to sell, but then we also need it to actually turn people into clients. Otherwise it's kind of pointless. 2 things here: topics, what are we talking about, but then types as well. So I had a client once who was trying to make micro offers work for him, but he was just doing like info-based ones, and his niche didn't really care too much. He might sell like 2, but it wasn't huge. And then he tried a different type. He did a 10-day paid challenge, and he sold it out, and then he got 3 sales off the back of it. Right now he's running it again, same exact one, sold it out again, so 10 people on, because he only has 10 spaces, and it's day 4, and he's already sold one of them, and then he's going to be inviting the rest of them to sales calls afterwards. Last time she did this, she generated 30 to 40 customers in a week. So just to recap, right? First of all, we're going to create this easy sprint offer, easy yes sprint offer around a big idea. Then we're going to automate that once it's validated. So then we're making that on autopilot all of the time. And then back out in the open in her marketing, we're going to get her into a micro offer rhythm. So every single month she's making 1 micro offer and 1 client offer. She's able to rotate through those, so she's getting different corners of her market coming to her and being able to make them more offers as well. Obviously, every customer is going to go onto her email list as well. Step 4, we get her best micro offer into an idea profit funnel. So this is the 4th thing that kind of pulls everything together now, because we've kind of built it all up until this point. So now that she's ran this rhythm for a while, right? One of those micro offers are going to be the standout winner, the one that sells well on the front end, but also upsells people on the back end as well, because depending on the micro offer, it depends who you actually attract. So we're going to take the one that performs the best, and we put it in what I call an idea profit funnel. Right? So what that is a low ticket micro offer funnel with an order bump and an upsell and then coaching offer on the back. So this is going to be a funnel. We're going to run ads to it. The ads are going to get people buying the products, right? And they're all digital products, so they don't take any time from her. The money that they spend on these digital products pays for the ads. So it self-liquidates itself on the front end before anyone's actually become a client. So effectively, if we get it right, ads are free. And then as more people are paying, as long as we can self-liquidate it, we can then scale the ad spend as well. So we don't need a huge amount of money to put into ads straight away, because once it's tested and it's working and people are paying us as much as we're paying Mark Zuckerberg for the ads, we can start to push it up a little bit more. And then remember, up until now, we've got this validated offer that's easy for people to say yes to, even if they're newer into our world without being marketed to very much. And we've also got this email sales machine, which is also working as new people opt in and come through. Every single person that comes through the idea profit funnel then goes into the email sales machine to be made the sprint offer that we've already created all the way back then, that's working really, really well in the future. And the whole machine works well. Once they're then in the email system as well, right? Even if they don't sell on that first campaign, then as she's running this micro offer rhythm, they can continue to be sold on either the client offer or the micro offer. So it becomes a bit of a flywheel. Even if they buy the micro offer, that's another chance to then communicate with them and sell them on the bigger thing. As you can see, everything's kind of built backwards and everything's proven along the way. So then when we start to do stuff like this, ads, we're only sending people into already validated micro offers, into an already validated email sequence that's selling an already validated offer. So really all we need to do is create the funnel, which is not long because we've already got all the assets, create the ads and send people into it. So that is it. And it looks like this, right? Buyers come in. Once it's all built, buyers come in, go through the idea profit funnel. We're now getting buyers on a list every single day. They go through the email sales machine, they see the sprint offer, they may buy that. If not, they go into the sales flow where we continue to do that thing. That's everything. Let me come back to me if I can do it. That is everything, guys. I hope that was useful. If you want to learn what it is like to work with me, go to the link in my description and you can click it and you can kind of see the whole model and you can see what it's like. If you've liked this, I'd love to have a comment on the bottom, a like, subscribe or whatever else. And yeah, hope this was useful.